3 rules of algebra that stand above all the rest. Number 1. The same quantity can be added to both sides of an equation without changing the answer to the equation. This is also known as the golden rule of algebra. What you do to one side, do to the other. Number 2. Every term on both sides of an equation can be multiplied by the same quantity except 0 without changing the answer to the equation. This still follows the golden rule. Number 3. The denominator and the numerator of an algebraic expression can be multiplied or divided by the same quantity except 0 without changing the value of the expression. We call this scaling or reducing a fraction. Keep it, change it, flip it, also known as multiplication by the reciprocal fraction, is a shortcut technique for Rule 3. We'll simplify the most internal denominator first, in this case 1 plus 1 over x. Now we'll use Rule 3 and multiply the fraction 1 over 1 by x over x. Now we put this back into the expression to see next steps. Again, we simplify the most internal denominator. This time we use keep it, change it, flip it to create a common denominator of 1. We put this back into the expression to see the next steps. Now we will simplify our final denominator expression. We'll multiply the fraction 1 over 1 by x plus 1 over x plus 1 to get a common denominator. Now we put this back into the expression to see final steps. Now we will use keep it, change it, flip it to create a simplified fraction that is as reduced and simplified as possible. If we were to use integers instead of variables, we might also need to squish and/or reduce the fraction after this step. Let's try that again. Again, we simplify the most internal division problem first by finding the common denominator and creating a single fraction instead of 2 terms. We put this back into the original expression to see the next steps. Again, we simplify the innermost division problem by using keep it, change it, flip it to find and eliminate the denominator and compress the fractions into 1. Now we put it back into the expression to see next steps. Now we'll take this final expression denominator and we will multiply to find a common denominator that will turn this into a single fraction. And then we will put this back into the expression to see what our final steps are. Now we'll use keep it, change it, flip it again to create a simplified fraction that is as reduced and simplified as possible. Again, if we were to use integers instead of variables, we might also need to squish and/or reduce the fraction after this step. So let's review. Multiply terms by the common denominator to turn an expression into a single fraction. Whenever there is a whole number divided by a fraction, Put the whole number over 1 and use keep it, change it, flip it to create a simplified fraction. Beginning with the innermost division problem, use one of those two methods from Rule 3 to move you to the next steps of simplifying a complex fraction. As always, thanks for joining us at Jupiter Math. For more information about our math programs, contact learning@edugraphics.com.